Welcome back everyone to Actual English. My name is Jennifer Clyde. Throughout the week we're talking about all different kinds of habits, and today we'll focus on childhood habits. Habits that we had as a child. Some of you may still have the same habits until this very day as an adult. Let's say, for example, do you bite your nails? Some people do this, right? Yeah. A lot of kids start doing that when they're little, and they continue on to do that until they reach their 20s, 30s, even their 40s. I used to bite my nails, that I no longer do it anymore. What are some other childhood habits that I've had? I had to sleep with a teddy bear for very, very long. I also had a baby blanket, a blanket that I've had since I was a little girl, and I couldn't go to sleep unless I had the blanket with me. I was also a daredevil. I'm no longer a daredevil, but I was a daredevil, meaning that I was a very outgoing little girl. I always caused problems and I got into trouble. For example, as a little girl, because I was a daredevil, I used to teach my cousins how to ride a bike down a hill. No hands on the handlebar, feet also up in the sky, and I once was on a battery car. This was when my mother went golfing. So I was on a cart, in other words, a golf cart, and while she was teeing up to play golf, I was in the battery car or on the cart, and I stepped on the accelerator. What happened was, I was up on a very high hill, so the cart started rolling down and down and down about 20 to even 30 meters, and eventually the cart hit a very big tree. I was bounced off the cart, I bumped into the tree, and then boom, onto the ground. So I ended up with a big bruise on my forehead, or rather a bump on my forehead and a big bruise on my legs. The cart was totaled. It was totally destroyed. Anyhow, you can talk about so many things as a child, but today let's focus on childhood habits. Are you ready? Let's get started.
When you were a kid, were you afraid of like monsters in the closet or under the bed?
I was afraid of monsters. I'm afraid of ghosts. Still am.
Ghosts?
Ghosts, yeah. But if they're as cute as the monsters in the Monsters animation movie, I don't think I'd be afraid anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
I never really had that fear as I can remember. Maybe I did when I was young, but I do remember that there was some trees outside the window
and they'd
that
shake.
Made a
Shadows
shadow or something that looked like a scary clown.
Oh, I used to be afraid of clowns too.
Yeah, I don't know why anybody thinks clowns are for children.
Yeah, my parents took me to the circus and this clown came up to me and I started crying apparently. And since then, yeah, clowns tend to give off a sad feel, a scary feel to me. They're not fun at all. I'm sorry, clowns out there.
Did you have to, keep the closet door closed or anything?
I don't think I did, but now that I think about it, I think Mum tended to sort of scan the room before she put me to bed, just to...
What about other childhood habits?
Oh, I used to bite my fingernails.
Do you still?
I don't, no. What my parents did was they heard that if you put manicure on your fingernails, it would prevent the child from biting it. Did not stop me.
Yeah, the acrylic, really good for you.
You're really good. Yeah, extra keratin.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, wasn't good for me at all. I think I stopped naturally when I got a little older. Yeah, but that was a bad habit of mine. I used to walk, I don't know, like a duck. That's what my dad said. I used to walk like a duck.
Okay.
Yeah, he was like, can't you walk like a proper lady? I'm like, I'm not a lady yet. I'm a kid. It's okay. So yeah, I used to have those kind of habits. I think I've dropped them now, I think. Yeah.
I was a very active kid, so I kind of walked on the balls of my feet.
Oh, really?
So I bounced when I walked. But luckily I learned to dance later, and then I was very smooth.
Oh, what sort of dancing do you do?
I taught ballroom and Latin.
Latin dancing?
When I was young.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How romantic.
How did you enjoy today's actual conversation or actual talk between Peter and Joanne? Now, they talked about their childhood and also talked about their childhood habits and how they have dropped those habits. First of all, what did Joanne say? She said that she used to be afraid of monsters. What was Peter afraid of as a child? He did mention that when he was a lot younger, he was afraid of clowns. That's right. He told us about an experience at a circus. What else? Joanne said that she used to bite her fingernails, but she doesn't anymore. And she used to walk like a duck. That's what her dad told her all the time. Peter also said he used to bounce when he walked. Okay, that's that motion. Anyhow, let's take a look at the actual talk line by line. Here we go. Peter begins by saying, when you were a kid, in other words, when you were a little girl, a child, were you afraid of monsters in the closet or under the bed? I think a lot of kids are afraid of monsters or ghosts, and they believe that monsters are hiding in the closet or they're hiding under the bed. So he asks, as a little girl, were you afraid of monsters? Did you think that there were monsters in the closet or under the bed? Now, Joanne said, I was afraid of monsters. Now, this pattern we'll practice later on as it is underlined. I was afraid of. I had a fear of. I was scared of. They're all the same thing. You had a fear of something. She was afraid of monsters. I'm afraid of ghosts and still am. Now, this is what I added, but basically she's saying I'm afraid of ghosts, still am, and I still am afraid of ghosts. All right? Moving on, Peter says, I never had that fear. That fear. That meaning the fear of ghosts, right? So he's saying, I was never afraid of ghosts. I never had that fear. I do remember that there were some trees outside the window that made a shadow that looked like a scary clown. So he's talking about his experience as a little boy. First of all, he was never afraid of ghosts, but he does remember as a little boy, outside the window were trees, and they would form or create shadows. And those shadows looked like what? A scary clown. Now, Joanne says, yeah, I used to be afraid of clowns too. Used to be, which implies that she is no longer afraid of clowns. Anyhow, she says, my parents took me to the circus, and this clown came up to me and I started crying. Okay, so she's talking about an experience as a little girl, just adding details as to why she used to fear or why she used to be afraid of clowns. Now, she says, and since then, okay, since then meaning since a clown walked up to me, okay, clowns tend to give off a scary feel to me, okay, give off. Basically, think of it as give, okay? They're not fun at all. And Peter says, did you have to keep the closet door closed? Okay. Once again, they did briefly talk about how monsters hid in the closet, or how kids believe that there are monsters under the bed. So he's saying, did you have to keep the closet door closed or anything because you were afraid something was hiding there? And Joanne says, I don't think I did. No, I don't think I did. But my mom tended to. We talked about I tend to. In this case, she's talking about how her mom tended to, in the past, to scan. That is, look through, okay, quickly, skim through. Scan the room, okay, before she put me to bed. So her mother would check the closet, right? Just to see if there was any ghosts or any monsters hiding there. And she would say, okay, there's nothing hiding in the closet. Now you can go to bed. And her mother would put her to bed, okay? Now Peter says, what about other childhood habits? Let's get straight to the topic. Let's talk about childhood habits. Joanne says, oh, I used to, which implies not anymore, but long ago I did. I used to bite my fingernails. 손톱을 뜯다? Is that what they say in Korean? So she used to bite her fingernails. I used to crack my knuckles. I still actually do, which is a very bad habit. Anyhow, he asks, do you still? Do you still bite your fingernails? And she says, I don't. Not anymore. No, I think I stopped naturally, okay, when I got a little older. But that was a bad habit of mine. And she says, I also, she's talking about another childhood habit, used to walk like a duck. So I used to have those kinds of habits. And then she says, I think I've dropped them now. So if you want to talk about a habit that you used to have, but you no longer do it, you can say, I dropped the habit of biting my nails. I dropped the habit of grinding my teeth. I dropped the habit of cracking my knuckles, okay? So drop here means to stop doing something, all right? Moving on, Peter says, I was a very active kid, okay? He was everywhere as a kid, very outgoing. I was a very active kid, so I kind of walked on the balls of my feet, okay? You can make use of this as well in the future. By chance, okay, I am going to show you what walking on the balls of your feet looks like. Normally, we walk like this, right? But if you walk on the balls of your feet, you're walking like this, something like that. So that's walking on the balls of your feet. He says, I used to, okay? As a little kid, he used to walk on the balls of his feet. So I bounced up and down. I used to bounce when I walked. But luckily, I learned to dance later, okay? And then I was very smooth. I, meaning in this case, I walked smooth after I learned to dance. So that basically brings us to an end to today's dialogue. But they basically did talk a bit more about what kinds of dances that Peter learned. And Joanne ends by saying, oh, how romantic. Anyhow, so we had a chance to find out about Joanne and Peter's childhood habits, what they used to do as a kid. Okay, let's take a listen one more time.
When you were a kid, were you afraid of like monsters in the closet or under the bed?
I was afraid of monsters. I'm afraid of ghosts. Still am.
Ghosts?
Ghosts, yeah. But if they're as cute as the monsters in the Monsters animation movie, I don't think I'd be afraid anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
I never really had that fear as I can remember. Maybe I did when I was young, but I do remember that there was some trees outside the window
Oh, and they'd
that
shake.
made
Shadows on
a
the
shadow or
wall.
something that looked like a scary clown.
Oh, I used to be afraid of clowns too.
Yeah, I don't know why anybody thinks clowns are for children.
Yeah, my parents took me to the circus and this clown came up to me and I started crying apparently. And since then, yeah, clowns tend to give off a sad feel, a scary feel to me. They're not fun at all. I'm sorry, clowns out there.
Did you have to, keep the closet door closed or anything?
I don't think I did, but now that I think about it, I think Mum tended to sort of scan the room before she put me to bed. Just to...
What about other childhood habits?
Oh, I used to bite my fingernails.
Do you still?
I don't know. What my parents did was they heard that if you put manicure on your fingernails, it would prevent the child from biting it. Did not stop me.
Yeah, the acrylic, really good for you.
You're really good. Yeah, extra keratin.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, wasn't good for me at all. I think I stopped naturally when I got a little older. Yeah, but that was a bad habit of mine. I used to walk, I don't know, like a duck. That's what my dad said. I used to walk like a duck.
Okay.
Yeah, he was like, can't you walk like a proper lady? I'm like, I'm not a lady yet. I'm a kid. It's okay. So yeah, I used to have those kind of habits. I think I've dropped them now, I think. Yeah.
I was a very active kid, so I kind of walked on the balls of my feet.
Oh, really?
So I bounced when I walked. But luckily I learned to dance later, and then I was very smooth.
Oh, what sort of dancing do you do?
I taught ballroom and Latin
Latin dancing.
when I was young.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How romantic.
I really enjoyed today's actual talk. I thought it was fun. So hopefully you can make use of the expressions and the vocab they used in today's actual talk. And to help you do that, let's take a look at today's actual expressions. Some words, first of all. Let's practice how to pronounce them. We had closet. I know it is an easy word, but just in case, now let's take a look at how it is pronounced. It's closet. closet. Okay, stress goes on the first syllable, and it's more of a z sound. Closet, closet. And what about monster? It's a d sound. The st makes it a st sound. It's not st, it's st sound, so it's monster. Monster. One more time. Monster. Good job. What about still? Very similar. It's not still, it's still. Still. I still have the habit. I still am afraid of monsters. Okay, practice the st sounds. And one final word, scary. Also, it's not scary, it's scary. Okay, scary. The syllable goes on the stress goes on the first syllable. So some other words you can use in place of scary are, here are a few synonyms. Frightening, chilling, shivery. These all mean scary, okay? One more time. Frightening, chilling, and shivery. It gives you the shivers because you're scared. Here we go with some expressions then. Here's a pattern. I was afraid of as a child. Let's talk about what you used to be afraid of, what you used to be scared of, what you feared. A sample sentence is, I was afraid of the dark. That's right. Some people, even adults, do not like to sleep in pitch dark rooms, which means very, very dark. So if you are afraid of the dark, keep in mind, the dark, it means you need to keep a small light on, okay? So, one more time. I was afraid of the dark. What else? I was afraid of dogs. Long ago, when I was little, okay? I used to be, or I was afraid of dogs. Okay, we've got a few more. I used to. I used to. One more time. If you say I used to so-and-so, it means you no longer are that. So, I used to bite my nails. I used to bite my fingernails. Not anymore, but I used to. Okay? All right, I used to be a daredevil. Okay, this is what I mentioned in the very beginning of today's lesson. I said that I used to be a daredevil. What is a daredevil? A daredevil is a person that is not afraid to do anything. You cause a lot of trouble. You get into trouble a lot. You can get hurt a lot because you don't fear anything. So if you are a daredevil, or if you used to be a daredevil, you most likely got a lot of rips and breaks here and there and stitches as a little child as well. Okay? Okay, let's take a look at another pattern. So-and-so was a bad habit of mine. We're talking about habits, but talk about bad habits, okay? Not a good habit, but something was a bad habit of mine. Here's a sample sentence. Thumb sucking was a bad habit of mine. A lot of children, they tend to suck their thumbs, right? So they suck their thumbs. That's called thumb sucking. Another one is teeth grinding. Now, if you grind your teeth when you sleep, you can say teeth grinding was a bad habit of mine. All right? Let's talk about having dropped the habit of doing something. Drop in this case means what? Not to drop something on the floor, but to stop doing something. Here are some sample sentences. I've dropped the habit of nose picking now. Yeah, a lot of kids pick their nose, and so I've seen some adults do it too. But if you no longer do it, okay, you can say I've dropped the habit of something now. You no longer do it. Okay, and one last one. I've dropped the habit of chewing pen caps now. I've dropped the habit of doing something. So keep these patterns in mind. If you used to do something, but you no longer do it, you can say, I've dropped the habit of doing something now. All right, that is a wrap for this segment. Let's now move on to our next.